Okay, so we are in chapter 5 in Mesilas Yesharim. This is the last of the of the Zehirus chapters, right? And it talks about mafsidei hazehirus, those things that are preventative to Zehirus, right? And he said there are three, right? Three is over-involvement in the physical world and the physical needs, right? The other one is litzonos and laughter, right? And the third one is, which we're about to discuss, is chevra ra, is bad company, right? Bad company. It occurred to me, right? If Zehirus is about what's the word? Is about focusing attention, right? Seeing little things for what they are, recognizing something that other people overlook, right? And then implementing them into your life, right? So there's a focus. It requires focus. It requires hisoyrus, inspiration, and then it requires implementation, right? It's a 3-step process. So I think that these three things are parallel to the 3 steps that requires Zehirus, right? The first step is you need to notice something. So, right, if you are constantly running around and you're not learning Torah, because that was a package deal, right, by Ramachal, that, right, that if you don't, Torah is refuah for the Yetzer Hara, right, and if you're running around and you're constantly involved in the stresses, in the what's the word, in the wheel of this world, right, you're not going to be able to focus and to recognize even the things that are problematic. That was, right, so that's number one. Now, you may have realized something that's problematic, but now you have to be inspired by it to change your life. If you're a litzonos, you will say, come on, it's not a big deal, right? Then, as we shall see now, you may have something to say that says, an amazing thing, I really should do it, but then you'll see the bad company will prevent you from actually carrying out the things that you recognize should be carried out, okay? So let's see. So v'amafsid hashlishi. So the third mafsid, right? The third detractor, hu hachevra, as the company. The hainu chevras hatipshim v'hachoitiim, which is company of fools and sinners. Company of fools and sinners, right? So two different things. So the fools really also, what's the problem is, a fool is incapable of recognizing nuance, right? He's not capable of seeing this little thing which you now see it as a big thing. He says, I don't understand, right? He just doesn't get it, right? There's another problem, a sinner. He gets it, right? But he doesn't care about it. Okay, so the company of fools and sinners. Right? The shepherd of fools. Well, that's how I translate it. Here it says Veroya means, I don't know. Should have looked this one up. I don't know where I missed this one. Veroya ksilim yeiroa. So it's a play on words. Anyways, let's focus on this for a second. Let me see if I can find Mishnah here real quick. Right? Isn't it fascinating that v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha, right? Love your friend as yourself, right? Rea means a friend, right? Right? And ra'ah means also evil, right?
There's a fun line.
It's a strange, what's the word? Strange similarity between those two words. Why are those two words so similar? Okay, so the truth is, Rea does not really mean friend. I mean, it does, because, friend means chaver, right? Right? Shalom chaver, so chaver means friend. So what does Rea mean? Right? So Rea is actually a receiver of love. Rea is the word for the recipient of love. That's the word. So it's a friend, but it's a friend, who receives love. And the word ra really means low. Re'ua means low quality, like like that's ru'ah. So the word ra, the reason why it means evil is because it's beneath, it's low. Right? That's the similarity as far as I understand. Means that love your friend, meaning not your friend. Anybody who you bestow love to kind of becomes the recipient of love. He's kind of considered, any receiver is on the below the giver, so to speak, right? That the relationship becomes more leveled, right? And also shepherd. Roye is a shepherd, right? So I'm not sure how that fits in. There's a way to fit that in also. I forgot already. Hold on. Let me just see the pasuk. The pasuk is Yud Gimel Chav. Okay, so Yud Gimel Chav says, "Hoylech es chachomim v'cham." Somebody who walks together with sages becomes wise. Yacham v'roya ksilim yiroa. Umidachaber, right, becomes befriends. That's what the Targum translates. Umidachaber l'sachlinim v'ashlei. Somebody who befriends ksilim, right, becomes bad. Right. So the problem with this translation to me right now is that if roya maybe that's fine. That works also, right? So when he tries to befriend other people, right? So he puts himself he wants to be in a position where they will bestow their love to him, right? Veroya, that's the problem. Veroya means so he's more likely to be influenced by them because he's trying to get in with them. Okay, fine. So that's how it works. I thought it didn't work, but it works fine. Okay, so moving on. So that's what we see from here. That somebody who goes around bad people will also become bad. That's the idea, right? Oh, actually, it's not what it says here. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase it. V'roya ksilim yirah. Somebody who befriends foolish people will become bad, right? They're just foolish, but he will become bad because as a result of their foolishness, he will degrade. Maybe for them, it's not so bad. That's their level. That's where they're holding. But for him, when he tries to fit in with them, he will degrade. Okay, so let's continue. Because we see pa'amim rabbis many times, even after it becomes clear to a person the obligation of service, and being careful in it, right? After already you figured this out, right? This is what I was saying before, right? Meaning, if I should have maybe said this first and then did the introduction. But the point is that if you would have asked me, what's the problem with hanging out with the wrong crowd, right? I'm sure you have kids. You don't want your kids to hanging out with the wrong crowd. What's the problem, right? So you would have said the problem is right? The problem is that you're going to do like them, right? And you're going to do bad things. He's not saying that, in a sense. I mean, he is, but he's not saying that the problem with it we have with kids hanging out with bad people is that they're going to imitate them and they're going to do like them. Not because they don't, meaning they will confuse meaning they'll pick up bad things thinking that's okay, that's fine, that's okay to do, right? Mm-hmm. He's not saying that. He's saying, A is right, B is wrong, but you will be embarrassed to do A and not to do B in front of that crowd, right? So it's not the problem that you're going to think like them and you're going to become like them. That's for sure a problem, but that's not where he is right now. He's saying, even after, you already know what's right and what's wrong. Right? You know that what the right thing to do is. And how careful you have to be in it. You'll weaken yourself from it, or you will transgress even from some things that regarding it. Why? So that he is not going to be ridiculed by his friends. Right? People are afraid of ridicule, so they don't want to look at him froming out. They don't want to, right? So in the presence of others that are not like-minded, we're not going to show our frum side, so to speak. We're not going to be extra careful, even though we're gonna do things that we're not supposed to do, even though we recognize that they're not right. Right? So either because they should not make fun of him, or kidei his arev imohim, or in order that he should fit in with them, right? In order they should accept him, right? Right? He wants to avoid ridicule, or he wants to gain acceptance. He sees that as two separate things, right? Avoiding ridicule and seeking acceptance. Okay. Im shoinim al tisaref. So there's another pasuk later. Im shoinim, very difficult to translate. Shoinim seemingly means change, right? Shoinim means change. So im shoinim, with changers, al tisarav, do not intermingle, right? So yeah, let's look this one up. This one is I did look up. This is a very interesting pasuk. The pasuk says. The pasuk says, where's the pasuk? No. I don't get it. The benefits of looking it up in Safari. Just one click. What does it say by you?
Chav Dalet, Chav Aleph.
That's what I thought. Okay. Over here it says over there, Gimel Chav Dalet. It's just a mistake. So the pasuk over here says, no. Okay, which one would you have?
Chav Dalet, Chav Aleph.
Oh, Chav Dalet. Okay. Yeah. Yira es Hashem, fear Hashem, b'ni, my son, v'melech, and king. Im shoinim, with shoinim, whatever shoinim means, al tisarev, do not mingle. Right, so this is juxtaposition, right? Fear of Hashem. So he tells him, my son, fear Hashem and king, whoever king is, right? King is meaning my son. He's referring to my son as king, or he's saying fear Hashem and king, meaning feel the king of the heavens and the king of the your temporal king. But in shoinim, those that change, either change. Or there's another type over here, shoinim, those that, Rashi says, shoinim means those that make everything double. In other words, shnei rishuyos, meaning they see world as black and white. They see God as two gods, meaning they see dualism everywhere, right? Shoinim al tisarav, do not intermingle, right? So one pshat is that they're constantly changing, meaning changing. What does changing means? They see the reality, right? And they provide a changed interpretation, right? Or shoinim means they see a duality. They see good and evil. They don't see oneness. I guess one Hashem. They don't see oneness throughout parts of the world. They see different forces in the world. Okay. So those are the different interpretations. But the key word over here that's going to be here for us is al tisarev, do not mix in. Right? Do not mix in. Do not mix in. Okay? Good. So that's what you see from here, that you have to avoid shoinim. Right? You see, Pasuk says, Mesilas tells you, avoid shoinim. Avoid these types of people. Whatever the shoinim, like shoinim, whatever shoinim means. Those are change. So according to the Malbim, for example, right, Mesilas is telling his son, right, he's telling his son, fear both heavenly God and your earthly king, right, who represents justice in the world, who represents law and order in the world, right? And avoid shoinim, those that change the order of the world. They run away from justice, right? So avoid those people, okay? Sorry. Now he has a question. Now here's what's interesting. However, if a person will tell you, but it says in Ksubas, a person's das, a person's mind should be intermingled together with other people, right? Right. So meaning you're just telling me, Ramchal is saying, I'm telling you, stay away from people, right? But here we see clearly the Gemara says, no, a person his mind has to be connected with people, right? So how do we balance this out? Again, if you would have asked me, it's not a question. Because didn't you just tell us to stay away from fools and sinners? You didn't tell us to stay away from all people, right?
Right.
So there's 90% of people I connect with, and 10% of fools and sinners I stay away from. Now, I'm going to show you that I think, and Ramchal has it in mind, what's the word? The opposite proportions. Maybe you'll find 10% of people that you can connect with, and 90% of people you're going to stay away with. Even though he calls them fools and sinners, but I think that's who you want to stay away with. But I think he has a very, open interpretation in that category, fools and sinners. Okay, but let me see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. Right, but anyway, so here's the question. So so now he says, so if a person tells you, what do you mean? You got to connect with people. You tell him, when is this Gemara speaking about? Bivnei Odom she'oisim ma'asei Odom. It's referring to people that act like people. Achloi bivnei Odom, but it's not referring to people she'oisim ma'asei behema, that act like animals. Now this line is shocking to me, because Ramchal is telling me, okay, Ramchal is a question. He says, you got to stay away from bad people. Good. He says, if somebody asks you, but you got to mix in. What means somebody asks you? Just say. But what about the Gemara that says you shouldn't be mixed in with people? I tell you, it's not talking about all people. Why is he bringing this idea? Right? He's not only in a question and answer form, but in the question and answer form. And if somebody asks you, just ask a question. And you often brings questions, right? He says, but what about this Gemara? Right? He says, what about tshuva? Remember we were learning about, not tshuva, what about midas harachamim? He didn't say over there, but if somebody asks you, what about midas harachamim? Right? He just said, what about midas harachamim? How do you